everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Before I talk about what I'm going to talk about today, I wanted to put in a disclaimer that this video is inspired by Jessica Kellogg Fozard, and I love her, and if you are someone who deals with chronic illness or disability, you should check her out. So now, let's get started. Today we are talking about the bane of my very existence, POTS. A lot of you are probably thinking, POTS? Like that you put a plant in? No. For me, POTS means postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. POTS. So this is a chronic illness related to the nervous system that I have had essentially my entire life. POTS is a weird one, I'm not gonna lie. It is very rare for people to get diagnosed with it. A lot of people get misdiagnosed when it comes to POTS. I'm sorry, this piece of hair is gonna bother me. A lot of people get misdiagnosed when it comes to POTS, and it's because we don't know a whole lot about it, and the classification of it keeps changing from a nervous system problem to a cardiovascular problem to an autoimmune problem to whatever they want to call it that day. So for me, and the way Jessica explains it, which is a very thorough explanation, and she explains it way better than I can, it is a chronic illness related to the nervous system that happens to affect your head, your heart, and your whole body. So it's just a party all over. So what POTS is, other than it being a nervous system problem, is, let's see how to explain this. I have a notebook in front of me, and I'm going to be looking down a lot at it, so I apologize in advance. But basically what POTS is when if you don't have POTS and you are a normal person and you stand up from sitting down, your blood vessels tighten up, especially in your legs, and they close. That way all of your blood moves upward. So it goes up towards your heart so that your body can actually do the act of standing up and you don't tip over. My body doesn't do that. So a lot of the times when I stand up or sit down and stand up or jump up in the air or whatever, my blood vessels stay open and all of the blood decides to go to my feet. And what happens when the blood goes to my feet? I get dizzy and my heart rate skyrockets. So yeah, it's a fun time. So when the blood vessels go down, my feet will turn red and kind of pool in one area, and I get very dizzy and I have an episode. Now, one thing I do want to say before we get too deep into this explanation of POTS is that it is different for every single person who has it. Some people pass out upon standing up sometimes. I personally have yet to do so. But I think a lot of that has to come with me having this my whole life and learning how to manage, and also getting lucky, I guess. So let's talk about what an episode is like for me. A normal person, when they are resting and like say you're sitting down, their heart rate is somewhere between 65 to 70 beats per minute. And that's just resting, you're not moving, whatever. My heart rate, on the other hand, is somewhere between like 55 and 60, and sometimes it can even drop to 49/50. So basically it means I have very low blood pressure and my body does not circulate my blood very quickly. So basically my body is like trudging through molasses all of the time in order for my heart just to function like a normal human being. When I do have an episode, if I'm sitting down and I stand up very quickly, or I'm laying down and have to jump out of bed, or even sometimes when I'm sleeping and have a dream that maybe causes me to jump, my heart rate can skyrocket. And when I'm having an episode, it goes from it usually will drop first, so I'll kind of feel it coming. I'll get very tired and my heart rate will drop to about 52 beats per minute, and then I will stand up and it will skyrocket to about 175 to 190 beats per minute, which basically feels like my chest is collapsing in on itself and I'm about to die. It's a fun time. So basically when that happens, my heart is beating so fast because it is trying to get the blood back up to my heart, even though it is definitely doing so. And that can go on from anywhere between like a minute to 45 minutes to a few hours. I've had episodes that have lasted 3 to 4 hours, and I just can't get my heart rate to come down no matter what I do. So it is a very picky illness. It decides when it wants to be nice to you and when it doesn't. So like I said, everything is very different, so everybody has different symptoms when it comes to POTS. The ones that I normally have are headaches when I stand up for too long. So anytime I am working and I am standing up for a very long time, my head starts to hurt basically right about here. It goes from this part of my eyebrow all the way back into the back of my skull. So it's a very fun feeling, and it feels like I've been hit in the head with a baseball bat. I also get very dizzy at times. Like I can be standing up and talking to someone and suddenly just kind of back up and almost tip over. Thankfully, that's never happened when I've been alone. It usually happens when I've been out kind of walking around a lot, or sitting down and standing up and sitting down and standing up a lot. Recently it happened in Kohl's while I was looking at shoes. I got a heart palpitation, I got very dizzy, and I started to tip backwards. Luckily, Sean was with me. He grabbed me and kind of steadied me. The flutters went down and I was fine. So that's the other big symptom, is palpitations. For me, my palpitations can be like a double heartbeat. So instead of a steady rhythm like this, it'll go ba 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 and then go back to normal, or it can feel like a couple really quick beats and then like my blood has completely drained out of my body. Like I just got bit by a vampire and down I go. But again, I have yet to faint. A lot of people do faint, but I have not had that happen yet. The other big thing is brain fog. This is like you have all these thoughts and you can't bring any of them together and, you know, put them into one package. That's why sometimes when I am on video with you guys and I'm trying to talk about something, it kind of seems like I go over here and then I'm over here and then I'm down here and I'm up here and nothing comes together. It usually means I'm going to have an episode later on, or I'm coming down from one that I had earlier in the day or even in the nighttime. My big thing that I'm not sure if a lot of people have is after an episode I deal with a lot of pain. So when I have my episode, when it finally decides to stop, I get a pain that runs right up through my throat, which I think has something to do with my aorta, although they tell me there's nothing wrong with my aorta, but I know this pain kills and it feels like I can't swallow. And then I swallow, the blood kind of goes, but my arms will have pains in them, like very pins and needles type feeling. I get pains in my ankles and pains in my back, kind of where my hips are. So I deal with a little bit of pain even when I don't have an episode. Sometimes I will have pain kind of in my extremities and stuff, and that's all related to POTS. Weakness is a big one for me, especially after an episode. If I have a particularly long one, like a few hours long, my arms will kind of just be noodles and not really be able to function. I can't really pick things up very easily, can't open jars. Shortness of breath, you guys will see in a lot of my videos. I kind of get going on a roll and then I because I just deal with shortness of breath all the time, especially like going up and down the stairs a lot. I have issues with that. And then digestion. Digestion is such a big one for me because so much of digestion deals with circulation and your nervous system, you know, squeezing and pulling and tugging your organs. I have really bad digestion. My digestion is absolutely awful. It feels like I have the stomach flu probably 7 days out of every month. So there are definitely some things that help me manage my POTS and definitely make it worse. So we'll talk about the things that make it worse first. My period makes my POTS awful. Not only are you more likely to be iron deficient during that time, but your blood flow is clearly off because there's stuff going on. But you're already dealing with some tiredness and fatigue, and during my period it feels like I have chronic fatigue, and a lot of that is because of POTS. So hate having my period in general, but POTS just adds a whole new layer. Dehydration. If I am dehydrated, I have much worse problems. The summertime is my least favorite time of year, mainly because also heat is really bad for POTS. Taking a hot bath or a hot shower is not in my idea of relaxation, because I have gotten stuck in the bathtub before when I took a shower that was too hot and all of the blood pooled to my feet and I had to sit down, and then I was stuck in the bathtub because everyone was asleep and I couldn't get out for about 45 minutes. Another big thing is caffeine. I drink a lot of caffeine-free tea and very, very, very minimal coffee. I always try and remember to ask for decaf when I can, because caffeine screws with my system on levels that are unmatched. Also, sugar and carbs. I am not really supposed to eat pasta, drink any sort of pop. Yes, we call it pop in my region, not soda. Add sugar to things, or yeah, really have anything overly sugary. So I don't eat a whole lot of candy. I really don't eat any candy at all. Now let's talk about things that help me. A big thing that helps me is water. I got a Hydro-Dug for Valentine's Day from Sean, and this has helped me a lot because this is half a gallon of water and it helps my circulatory system when I drink a lot of water. So I have been trying to drink one of these a day as a management sort of tool for it, and also exercising I need to replenish. So another thing that really helps when I'm specifically having an episode is laying down on the floor, and that just helps me get my body in a parallel position. And I also have to put my feet up because this helps the blood come back down to my heart and the rest of my body and kind of even out. I have also found that putting my arms up above my head or laying with them flat when I lay on the floor kind of helps me. Then I am on medication, so I take a very small, tiny 10 milligram pill every night before bed, and this is to regulate my adrenaline in my sleep and keep me from having episodes in my sleep, which was something that happened in high school because I was so beyond stressed and going through emotional trauma, and my POTS was at an all-time high. The other big thing is salt. So what I cannot eat in sugar, I eat in salt. I eat chips, pretzels, fries, anything with salt on it is my friend. And my doctor has said that is just fine because I'm drinking so much water, it kind of flushes, you know, it keeps me from retaining water, but helping retain water is eating sodium. So it helps with my circulation. I get to eat chips, doctor's orders. So POTS is actually classified as a secondary condition. So when I got diagnosed, my doctor asked me what else I had that was causing my POTS, and I said I don't have anything else, and that still stands. POTS is a primary condition for me, and everything else kind of is because of POTS, they think. So if you guys didn't know, I don't know that I've really talked about it on my channel. Maybe I will one day when I'm more comfortable with it, but I think I've talked about it a little bit. I struggle with a lot of anxiety and depression, so a lot of that affects my POTS. When I am depressed and I'm in bed all day and can't get up, when I do get up, I have an episode. When I'm having an anxiety attack because I'm stressed out about something else, it makes my heart rate go up and then go down, and then I have a POTS attack. And vice versa. When I'm having an episode, it feels like I'm having a panic attack, so one can trigger the other. They're best friends. But we have come to the conclusion that as my anxiety developed, my POTS developed. So maybe they're friends, POTS, but there are some things I can't do. Let's talk about them. The first thing is sit all day and then stand up really quickly. It doesn't end well. Number 2, trampolines, which is actually how I figured out I had a problem, because my cousins had a trampoline and it nearly killed me every time I got on it. So we figured out I have POTS. It's the up and down and the blood kind of sloshing around in my body. Yeah, POTS does not allow you to do that. Roller coasters with lots of loops and upside down, that blood moving up and around over and over again. My blood vessels do not like it. And the biggest one that a lot of people give me a very pitying look for, and they shouldn't because this does not affect me like it affects a lot of people, is I cannot have children. Mainly because of the medication I am on. It slows my heart rate down, it levels it out, and it would basically kill a fetus. Luckily for me, I've never wanted children. I know a lot of people think I say that as a defense mechanism, but I never really have had a motherly bone in my body or have ever felt the need to have children. So I cannot physically give birth to children, and I am very okay with that. For a lot of people with POTS, that is the worst news they will ever receive, and I feel for you, and I really hope that you can figure out something so you can become a mom. But for me, it's just not the life that I want to live. So that is basically all I have to say about POTS, but I wanted to tell you guys the full reason I am making this video is because I have always felt very awkward about talking about POTS or explaining to people that I do have a chronic illness and something that they look at as very strange and peculiar, because it's very hard to explain and understand unless you're sitting down looking at a notebook with all these symptoms and causes and things on it. A lot of people just think that you're making it up. And I've actually had several traumatic instances where teachers have told me I'm making it up or it's not a real thing. They've never heard of it. You know, I had friends who thought I was making it up, and I literally was having an episode and laid down on the floor in a hallway in high school, and they left me there alone. And thank God my parents were there, because I was able to call them and have them come over and get me from where I was laying in the hallway alone, about to pass out. So it's a very hard topic for me to talk about because people have made me feel invalidated my whole life for it, that I really wasn't sick and there really isn't anything wrong with me because I dance, because I don't look sick, because I do exercise, because I do things that a lot of people can't do when they're sick. But the truth of the matter is, I have chronic illness that I will deal with every day of my life until I die, because I'm actually past the point of growing out of it at any point. If I was going to grow out of it, my doctors have told me I would have a long time ago. So I wanted to make this video to tell every single person who maybe thinks they have POTS or they have POTS or a chronic illness, and people don't believe you and make you feel bad about needing special accommodations or a little bit more time to do things, that you are 150% valid. It is not your fault that you have this. Your body is just different, and if people do not want to learn about that and educate themselves on it, as your friends, as your family, as your teachers, as your professors, as whatever, that's on them, not you. And I'm sorry you have bad people in your life. In case you're wondering, no, I don't talk to the people who left me in the hallway anymore. I hope that you all have a lovely day. If this has made you think you have POTS and you have more questions, please feel free to DM me on Instagram. I would be happy to talk more in depth about particular things that have affected me with POTS over the years that maybe I forgot here. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.